Hey, what's up, guys? We're back here today. This, of course, being Deck Daddies 3, not in 3D, but I have two really cool dudes with me today. Of course, hailing from the East Coast, I got Anthony Tardino,
How's it going, guys?
and I got Cheyne Runnells.
What's up?
Yeah. So, of course, my two guests here. We're going to talk about deck building, and we're just going to kind of get an idea of how these guys' minds work. They're two pretty active guys on the retro boards, of course, hosting events, or helping host events with Anthony, doing the stuff for the OT. Shane's keeping his play group together down in Carolina. These guys travel a good amount, I know, up and down the eastern seaboard, so if you play in those areas, you're bound to see them and run into them, so now you can tech for them by watching my videos.
I'm actually not involved with the North Carolina play group
Oh, no.
that much. I'm basically a Jersey person almost. I'm just as far away from them as I am from the rest of North Carolina.
Okay.
Thanks, geography.
Yeah, Shane and I are basically have been adopted into their play group at this point. I think that's where we mostly clash. They're in Frederick.
Maryland, yeah.
If you go to where the other North Carolina guys play, they definitely play like the South. Like, they're definitely Southern players.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like I'm more of an East Coast player. But I still love my North Carolina guys. I'll always represent them forever.
No, right on. All right. Hey, so, of course, we got a minute and a half into the recording here, and it stopped itself, so we have to back up. We just finished the first question, but we'll get on to the first question, of course, the same one I ask every time. Where do you start when you are deck building? We'll start with Anthony. Where do you start? Do you start with the MP, the Mastery? Is there a certain combo that you look for?
I found in the past that when I try to be the originator of a specific deck or a new deck that I think is going to sweep, the meta and kick some ass, it always just kind of allows me to fall on my face instead of allows me to win the game. So I generally just I look at decks that may be winning, but I could kind of tweak to my own play style, or decks that I think I could make a little better by changing a few cards and making them play in a way that I like. So like with Knowledge Cell is probably the one that I'm most proud of. I've been playing against Kevin Curtis for a long time, ever since I started playing in Jersey, and he plays Knowledge Cell almost every tournament. So I just kind of took a version of that and ran with it and made it my own with Unleashed and all this crazy stuff that it operates on a total different level than like a triple victory cell.
Yeah,
Kevin's going to do something different.
I was going to say, Kevin's really much like that triple Vic, and I saw your list was like all Unleashed, Mill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely like a more aggressive mid-rangey. It sets up. So I like taking a deck that might be already established and doing something different with it, but maybe that works, answers a call to the meta that might be needed.
Right on. Yeah. So Shane, where do you start?
I don't really have a set pattern of where I start, but I guess if I had to pick one, I'd say often I end up starting with an MP. I don't really intend to. I just usually am trying to come up with a cohesive strategy. And once you've chosen your MP, it informs so much else about the deck that just seems to be where I end up starting. As far as like MPs that I choose go, or whether or not I try to come up with my own combinations, I would say I try to be creative. I try to come up with ideas that either haven't been done before or haven't been done in the way that I want to do them. But that doesn't always work out. So I'd say generally my decks start with like a strategy, and then very quickly I pick from like a handful of MPs. I try to only pick the MPs that I feel are the most powerful, the ones that are going to give me the best shot at accomplishing my deck strategy. So I do. If you look at all my decks, you'll see I pick from a handful of MPs. You'll see that I'm playing a lot of Android 18, a lot of Piccolo, a lot of Cooler, the new Broly stack.
If it rejuvenates.
Dude, I love rejuvenation, and I love endurance, and I love big life card attacks.
I like all those things.
Yeah.
That's why we get along.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've literally I've said on other episodes here that I've had multiple discussions on Facebook, and I'm like, I love endurance and I love rejuvenation, so But I mean, my biggest thing with like the new Broly stack is that he was Broly. That's why I didn't want to touch him. But I've been playing some impressive Broly. He's pretty fun. He's pretty fun.
Shane and I.
Fun for the person using Broly.
Well, I mean, what were you saying, Anthony?
Shane and I in our group chat, generally, the first thing we each look at whenever a list is presented is always we're criticizing the amount of endurance.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin Dennis literally just shared a deck with us like yesterday, and Anthony was like 22 endurance, garbage, throw it out.
Dude. Oh man, that goes to yeah. It's like that's the problem. There's a lot of good cards that just don't have any endurance, and I don't think they're or like niche cards especially. Example like the blue copy blocks or like the blue ally bounce blocks that just don't have any endurance. And
or blue wrist block.
Or blue wrist block, and they just don't have the endurance, and so it's like it's hard to run them, because like you get hit or you just don't draw them, or you play the matchup where it's not good for you, and it doesn't do you any good to have them. But
yeah, and that's my biggest problem with red style. Is red has like no endurance if you're not playing a ruthless physical beatdown deck.
Yeah.
All I want is endurance.
Yeah, no, it's that's definitely I definitely am. Well, this is good. This is a good segue. So we did already do this question, which is the funny part. But this is a good segue into the next question that we have. It's going to be about, do you look at the numbers? So when I say do you look at the numbers, I'm talking about planning cards, endurance, block line. Like, is there like certain patterns that you see yourself, or is there certain like numbers that you try to hit every time you're deck building?
Who's going first?
We'll go with Anthony first.
All right. Yeah, I generally look at the numbers, especially in an initial build. I kind of have an idea of like, if I want it to be more mid-rangey, I know I want to be around 30 attacks, or maybe I'll cap myself out at 15 planning cards. And generally, I want a certain amount of endurance, depending on like the type of deck. It's like Dual Victory or something. The numbers are pretty important to me in the beginning, but then they fade away as I play test, and as things go on. Like my endurance number I might come to a realization that, I thought maybe I need 40 endurance to start, but Namekian Chest Explosion is pretty fire, so maybe I could sacrifice some of these three endurance cards for that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioning the 3 endurance Namekian cards, because I was just, again, Jeff Sosa I was talking to for the previous episode. He's just like, yeah, he's like, if I see a knowledge deck that doesn't have 3 clamp and 3 buffer, we're instantly like trash almost. It's like so. Yeah, I mean, there's certain cards that the endurance alone, it's like Blue Narrowscape for the longest. Even now, I'd argue for a lot of decks want to run Blue Narrowscape just because it has endurance 3. And I keep talking about Blue. Blue is just such a good example. They have all these really strong blocks with no endurance, like Leverage and Wrist Block and
Brace.
And Blue Brace, exactly. Blue Brace. And it's hard to run that card in some builds unless you're really, really trying to sell those setups.
I mean, every style has like some of those cards that they're really strong and they're really good, but they have no endurance. So every time you're putting these like power cards in, it's all right. I'm taking one notch off on the defensive factor of my deck. It's definitely a balancing act. But I think after the initial deck list, that kind of stuff, it fades away. Or maybe my original notion of like, what I thought it should be, oh crap, I was totally wrong. Never mind. I don't need 30 attacks, I need 20, and I need to add 10 more planning cards in here.
Is there a certain thing that you definitely try to shoot for, though? You usually try to shoot for like 30-40 endurance, something like that for every deck initially?
Yeah, 30-40 endurance, I'll generally start with like 12 to 17 blocks, depending on what style and how strong those blocks are. And some of those blocks are kind of like non-blocks, or they serve a different like On the Move is like a block-ish now.
Yeah.
In my opinion, at least.
Yeah, On the Move is I don't. It's a weird card to throw in a block slot because it's not really a block sometimes.
Yeah,
So,
it more serves like an event slot. I mean, it's obviously an event card,
it's
but
it. I just put it in a deck for drawing. If I want to draw in that deck, I'll throw it in there. Otherwise,
yeah,
I don't bother.
a lot of the MPs I'm playing are using malicious intent. So on the move is it's the sauce is malicious intent on the move, any attack and draw it. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, so like 12 to 17 blocks. If I'm playing, I'm mainly playing mid-rangey decks. So if I'm playing mid-range, I usually cap myself at 15 planning cards. So
That's
I'll try to stay under that. If I go over it, I feel like I'm getting more into that control area. So I want to maybe rethink what I'm doing or get some play testing in before I exceed that.
for sure. Yeah, and that kind of there is a second part of this question I was going to ask, but that does also tie into the. My second part is like, does it change based on MP or whatever? I guess you're in type of deck, and you did definitely did cover that. If it's a mid-range deck you like to play, you usually like to keep it in a certain area. So, Shane, what about you? Is there do you like look at the numbers to certain things
Yeah,
that you're trying to
absolutely.
do?
100%. I look at the numbers. And I've noticed like a lot of recurring themes in my decks. Like every single deck that I built has exactly 60 cards, and beyond that, like the endurance just I think is the most valuable trait that a card can have. Almost endurance is more powerful than so many effects. I feel because if you never draw a card but it's got endurance, it still has value in your deck. Um, Lots of games have been saved because my deck just has so much endurance and my opponent's trying to pummel me and I just suck it up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not always you do have to weigh it though. Sometimes you just have to cut those endurance cards. Like Blue Brace is the card that I think of the most. So many of my blue decks I cut an Aeroscape for
Oh
Brace
man, yeah.
because I just when you brace for stylish pose, like how do you lose the game after you resolve that
Oh
combination? It's
God,
so strong.
stylish pose.
Um,
Ugh.
or now we're in an energy meta, so I get to run 3 brace and 3 narrow escape.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I count the blocks, I count the endurance, I count the planning cards, and I count the attacks. Those are all the factors that you just kind of juggle to give your deck the feeling that it needs to have as you're playing. Blocks are in my opinion, the worst cards in the game because they're entirely reactive.
Hmm.
So you are counting on your opponent doing a specific thing at a specific time to make a block good, even though blocks have absurdly busted effects, like red blocking hand to make
Well,
you flinch.
I mean, I think, yeah, I think there's certain styles that have really good blocks, but like Saiyan and I'd say Saiyan's blocks are just trash.
Well, Saiyan is the
Yeah,
worst blocks, but
Yeah.
it's funny when you're playing a rampaging deck and they block an attack and they gain that one anger, you're like, shoot, this is the worst. Like
Yeah.
that one anger,
Yeah, I suppose
so powerful.
that is fair.
But when you're playing against a dynamic, like dynamic Majin Vegeta, it's probably my favorite Saiyan aggro deck right now. Every time I play that deck, the blocks are garbage.
Yeah,
They
you don't
basically
want
don't do
them.
anything.
They don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So, and then in terms of planning cards, I count them like meticulously in every deck I build. I obsess over the right number of planning cards to try and see them or not to see them. Because there's nothing worse than playing like a 22 planning card deck and then not drawing a board on your turn. So,
Man, that's the thing. I hate having more than like 15 like setups drills. I do planning step cards in my deck because I just fucking hate drawing that when someone enters on me. And
No,
I get
if,
so mad, dude.
if I run that many, I expect to draw like at least one or two a turn on my own turns, and then when I don't see one in like the first 3 turns, I just want to fucking die. It sucks.
well, when I play, you're 100% right. That's the risk you take, and that's one of those things that kind of devolves the game in a way. Once you commit to running that many planning cards, like if you draw dead when your opponent enters on you, it's terrible. But if you had drawn that same hand on your turn, it would have been amazing.
Oh yeah, and that yeah.
So I count that too, though, as I play a game. Like yes, I count that obsessively before I go into the game when I'm actually building the deck. I'm like, how many planning cards is too much for this deck? How often do I want to pass? How often do I want to enter? What do I do if I draw dead against my opponent?
Yeah.
But as the game goes on, I know how many planning cards I've started with, so I keep track as I play them and as they enter the discard pile. So I know how likely I am to draw dead when entered on. And that's kind of another thing that makes it bad when you are playing a planning deck and you draw like, I don't know, 2 blocks and an attack, and you're already holding an attack. You're
Oh,
like, well, shoot, those planning cards are still in my deck for me to draw when I get entered on.
oh man, the worst is when you draw that and you're a deck that kind of just wants to drop board, and then you're like, shit, do I enter with this hand? Because you're against an aggro deck, and you're like, what happens when he just enters? I mean, next turn I draw no block, or if they draw 3 deads and I have 1 block in my hand, you know, it's like, and that's, I hate being in those kind of situations. And for like that instance, those kind of experiences alone, that's why I like to generally play like mid-range at most for control amount of cards, like a mid-range set type of board, I guess. Like again, 15 is just like almost too much for me. Like 15 is like okay, this is like a deck that I'm very comfortable passing on a lot of the hands. And ideally, I think the decks that are going to be like that need to be able to have a huge explosive turn when they actually decide to go in, if they're going to run that many cards to where they got to force themselves to pass. So,
if 15 is 15 is like one of the numbers that I use like in a mid-range deck. 14 to 16 seems to be about where I go.
I like 14 more than 15. I'll just put it that way. But
when you're playing a slow deck, there's nothing worse than like playing an orange control deck and you've got Devouring Drill out and you just can't seem to draw another drill. Like if you're running Devouring Drill, you have to run enough drills to make it worth it.
Yeah.
And that's
15 with tutors is usually like my favorite thing. It just it seems to have like this almost like drunken kung fu effect where I draw my planning cards and my blocks on my turn, and I'm gonna draw all my attacks on your turn.
Yeah, the tutors is a big one because like Adaptive 18, I run so many dead cards, but by turn 4, I might have vomited out my whole board, and now my deck is nothing but gas.
Yeah, and that's another. It's like Goten is another example. Oops, oh god, there's like a mosquito just got in here. Went right for my fucking eye. That's another thing is like Goten, for example, is someone who like can definitely maybe get away with more board cards. 18 as well in orange because Toss and Orange Leisure both grab cards that are board cards. You know, or
ridiculous.
Oh yeah, and Krillin too. You know, he grabs board. So yeah, having tutors really definitely opens the floodgates up, and especially if you have one on your MP, it goes a long way. So. And I guess that ties up the question. You know, does it change off MP? And we covered deck type and MP. So, so let's see. This question. I guess this is question number 3. I'm looking at the list here. So Anthony, what kind of decks do you prefer to build? Is there a theme?
Shane and I were talking about this earlier, and it's kind of funny because it's like it's so obvious, but I like to like level up. That's what I want to do. I want to level up to higher levels. So generally the best way to do that is Unleashed and Anger. You pair them up and you're probably going to hit your higher levels faster than a deck that just does one or the other.
That is true.
So it usually the decks I run, I don't like have a specific like I like to play ball decks or anything like that. But they're like mid-range. I want to level up, and you know maybe I want to set up a board and do a lot of damage or get the most value out of a certain level.
Right on. Yeah, I'm a big fan of level decks myself, so.
Yeah, I don't like the camp one, dude. It's boring.
Oh, I hate
like
it.
Having the same effect all game is just.
And it's
snore.
And that's like I guess for me the hardest part for building any decks with drills is I just love leveling, so I feel like I never play drills in any decks because I just level most of the time that I build a deck. It's built to level.
Yeah, it kind of deters me from drills as well. As I played, I started only in set 6 playing the game, so I started with like Protective Cooler, and my first tournament was East Kai, the first one during Van Z, and since then my playstyle has been kind of defined by playing against Kevin and Shane over and over and over again. So I think they've kind of rubbed off on me. So a lot of my decks utilize allies, thanks to Kevin.
Yeah. Nope. You're still talking about Curtis, right?
No, Kevin Dennis.
Oh, Kevin Dennis. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose Cell and Gohan ally.
Yeah.
Between the two Kevs, but.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, generally, like allies, like you said, drill is obviously not synergistic with leveling. So, allies and setups are going to be more effective.
Right on. Yeah, I'm not a huge ally. I've never been a big ally player, so I love tug of war too much to play allies. And
I hate being sacked by physical beats.
oh man.
Nothing makes me saltier than after just getting I'll dig your grave for 40 cards and you're just sitting on the other side of the table just mad as hell.
Oh man.
You could be playing the worst player in the world, but like you draw a not so great hand, and your opponent's got like dig, red double strike,
Oh man.
furious lunge, and shattering.
Remember ruthless? Oh, yeah, remember shattering leap though? Oh my god, that's a card I haven't played in forever.
Mm-hmm. It's sad that card's not even like that great now because
just damage. There's no time for just damage.
There's no time for just damage. There's no stages for just damage in a lot of the matchups that you have now. So
I remember Ruthless Turles. He'd like red shattering leap me in set 4, but I was playing Ye Old Villain 18, so it wouldn't be modified, and his base was lower than mine, so it would do 0 damage.
My friend Derek, Conflict 18 he had, and he built it, and he because that was his mastery pairing, if I believe correctly. That was a mastery pairing.
No, Mischievous. Not
Perceptive 18. Sorry, it was Perceptive 18, not Conflict. And I played at Ruthless Turles, and he plays 18, and then he like the moment he hits level 2, you lose with that deck because you don't do any damage. Yeah. And it was just like, oh fuck, dude.
I once took like 42 cards of damage in the first turn from a Ruthless Turles. But before he stage locked me, I power pointed for Devouring Drill. I leveled to 2 or 3 the next turn, and he did 0 damage for the rest of the game, and I was able to come back.
Yep. No, yeah, that was a fun deck, actually. I whipped that deck out on stream against Diddy, and he just completely... He's like, oh, block, first combat. Oh, time the next combat. And then he got time, like, again. And I'm just like... Or I got D-burst or something. Oh, no, I got stage locked. Because he was playing, like, Oppressive Trunk stage lock or something like that. Or Broly stage lock. It's Broly stage lock, Oppressive.
Yeah, he's talking about that deck.
And he got Hanging Out Drill right away. And I didn't play tax in like 2 of our combats, and we had like 4 combats, and I got timed in one of them that I actually threw tax. So that was how that game went. That was rough. That was a Drink Z stream. That was rough. Shameless plug, Drink Z. Of course, we are drinking. I'm drinking Fat Tire, and I think Anthony's got something in his on his side over there. I forgot what he's got.
It's a coffee stout, Java Head Stout. This is my first time drinking it. It's okay.
Okay. I'm not a huge fan of the coffee beers, to be honest. There's a lot of breweries around my area that do those, but
they're usually the first one I seek out. But I think in reality, I actually like the red ales a little bit more, like amber ales.
Yeah, I like amber. I like ambers quite a bit. I used to drink them a lot more, but you don't like IPAs, do you?
They're okay. I mean, I won't turn down an IPA.
Okay,
you ask that question like you're on a first date and you're asking to make her a great question. You're like, you're not a racist, are you? You don't like IPAs, do you?
Oh man, yeah. I hate IPAs. They had a very small period of time where I would drink. It was when I was in college. I would drink them because I got them given to me, and they're cheap. But
it's kind of the gateway craft beer.
It really kind of is, yeah. There's a lot of most of the craft beer places around here do a lot of IPAs.
I don't drink, but I sell a lot of craft beer, so I have to like BS my way through a lot of sales, and I'm amazing at it. If I can toot my own horn, but the hardcore like IPA guys are like the easiest people to sell to.
Oh yeah,
like they're just like, okay, tell me about this IPA. And I'm like, oh, it's super hoppy, and then they'll just give me like $30.
Oh god,
that's it.
I hate hops so much. Me and my dad are the same way about beer. It's like I hate hops. I like stouts. I like the darker beers a lot of the time if I'm gonna drink a beer. But I don't mind some like a lot of Mexican beers are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like the really rich stouts with like the
oatmeal cream stouts? Flavors? Oh man!
Or like the Southern Tier Blackwater stuff, like the salted caramel Himalayan rock salt.
I have never had that kind of stuff before. I've never had that.
Yes, send that up here, dude.
Dude, I have to. It's from New York. I'm sure you can get it there. It's
oh my gosh!
It's an 11.2% that smells and
holy shit!
Well, dude, it smells just like an ice cream shop. It's dangerous.
That sounds like a Drink Z future.
That is
ahead of us.
that is definitely a collab event. Cheyne sends me some through the post mails here. I'll have to. No, I haven't really had any flavored stouts other than like oat milk cream stouts. I've had a couple other, or oat milk stouts. Sorry, not oat milk cream. I've had a couple other ones. I can't remember, but I generally like oat milk stouts. They're pretty readily available around where I'm at, and a lot of places do make those, so which is nice. And I like cream ales too. There's a local brewery. Actually, Diddy, I brought him some, and he had some beer that I gave him for like over a year.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. He finished that beer on the.
On
I
your
believe that's the beer he finished on the very first Teaching the Unteachable podcast.
Yep, he mentioned it. He's like, I think someone brought this. He's like, I think Frank brought this to me. I'm like, yeah, it was me. I stay with Diddy.
Frank cameo.
No, my little contribution. So, okay, so we are off topic pretty. Well, that was a good. That was a nice little conversation. Let's see. We asked Anthony. Let's see what do you prefer? Cheyne, what do you prefer to build? What kind of stuff do you like to build?
I definitely have the most consistent themes in decks that I build are multiple win conditions and straight life damage. I hate playing stage beats. I used to be a huge stage beats player. It used to be all I played. But then I evolved. I stopped being a Neanderthal. Someone taught me how to like make fire, and they like taught me how to wear clothes, and started playing different decks. I hate playing stage beats because when you are the stage beats player, I feel like there's so much pressure on you to enter, to like draw well. Like,
yeah,
I hate playing stage beats because I have this feeling of like, oh, I hope I draw a good hand so I can enter and smash my opponent. The one stage beats deck I have right now that's like in my rotation is Dynamic Majin Vegeta, because I feel like he is very good about maintaining steady pressure. You can pass because you should draw enough like consistently good enough hands, and you're constantly removing your opponent's obstacles to your beatdown. But I hate stage beats. I play straight life beats and I play multiple win conditions. A lot of my decks have Dragon Balls in them.
Cooler Ball. I remember that.
Yeah,
that was
Retribution Cooler Ball is by far the best deck I've ever made in my life. No other deck was that good.
It's Retribution Cooler was definitely one of those ones that was like, I think a lot of people. I knew people that tried it. I know a guy that I know from Midwest who did pretty good with it. He top forward event with like, but he didn't do Cooler Ball. He did Retribution Cooler, but Retribution Cooler was definitely a fun deck. I think
I don't know why I didn't get more love. It was not a highly played deck.
Not really. There's people that played it, but not a ton of people played it.
I don't know. It was a free deck. Like if you got to level 3 and you search Orange Drill, your attacks do an 8 life and rejuvenating 3 every turn. How do you can't lose.
All you had to do was just get off one with Cooler, and the Master does a good job with that. Don't get me wrong, but you could definitely get locked on that one. And against like you got to remember, there's also like the empowered Broly, restored Gohan meta where you're getting ball 2'd like 50 fucking times.
Retribution Cooler destroyed empowered Broly. I don't know
really?
About. Easy. I don't know about restored Gohan. It was definitely winnable. I'm just saying that because that deck was ridiculous. So I assume I could.
See, I think like pre-Orange Swerve, I would see that being a little bit of a pain in the butt. But I think once Orange Swerve came out, like Orange should not lose to physical if they have enough. If they have the right block. If they have like if they have like 2 defense, like 3 swerve, and like 2 refocus, they should. That's like enough to beat a physical deck alone off that.
Well, keep in mind, like back then, drills didn't have memory, so I would
that's right.
Burning Aura Drill, search Burning Aura Drill, and I'd use Burning Aura Drill again. So you could like level search checkup drill for orange defense, block with orange defense, search Burning Aura Drill.
I completely forgot about that. They took memory away and like set like 10, didn't they? Or set end of set like mid set somewhere like set 9 or 10.
Set 9 came with memory.
Yeah, Shane just blew my mind.
I forgot so like, soon that we forget our oppressors. You know,
set 8 Ascension Roshi was completely busted because you had red panic, but also red forward stance could be used multiple times a turn. So you could just forward stance over and over and over and over. It was completely insane. But moving on back to the actual question.
Yeah. But you like triple
I,
Vic decks.
yeah, I love multiple win cons. I love decks that can change gears. I like decks that play at multiple speeds. Usually, multiple win conditions is how you accomplish that. But even beyond that, just decks like Adaptive 18. Adaptive 18 can pass like for 4 turns. You don't want to pass against Adaptive 18 because what if she draws her drills?
But then you enter and she gets fierce attack and quick
exactly.
toss and orange
I can't
red.
tell you how many times someone's entered on me like turn 1 because they're like, oh, I got to enter on him turn 1. I'll just kill him. And then they throw their physical. I orange defense into burning aura. I toss for like efficiency and then throw a fierce attack.
Yeah.
And they're just taking billions of life cards of damage.
Oh, dude.
God
damn.
Any deck that makes you feel bad for like, should I enter or should I pass? Like Radiant Future Gohan's the same way. Like you pass, I ball out on you in 3 turns. You enter and I do 1 billion damage and turn off your MP power.
Yeah.
It's that's like my go-to. Straight life beats, multiple win conditions. All my decks pretty much follow that win con. I'm definitely more of a control or mid-range player than a straight up aggro player.
I was gonna say it seems like both you and Anthony are definitely mid-range. From what I've seen you guys playing and what I know how you guys have been describing, it seems like you're both pretty mid-range.
Yeah, we exchange deck ideas a lot too.
And to add to that, yeah, the Radiant Future Gohan. I know you both have played that deck into some top cuts and stuff. So
yeah, I love that deck. That's like a prime example of my deck building process because that deck came from Tommy Shebell's. I never know how to say his last name. East Kai champion Tommy. Yep. He had Resolute Future Gohan, and all I did was go, well, it does +1 life, and that's good. So what if I had a mastery that did +2 life? And then it got me Radiant Future Gohan, and it was like half speedball, half ally beatdown.
Yeah.
Well, Earth Dragon Balls, they have a hidden parenthetical that Shane and I have not revealed to the world yet.
Anthony has a theory that if you use Earth Dragon Balls, it makes your opponent worse.
Low key,
so
I think so. Low key, I think so because I've been playing Oppressive Bio Broly with ball with Earth Balls, and I don't think I've lost a single game yet with it. Granted, I've only played like 5 or 6 games on it, but
Earth Ball 5 is your opponent will crit another Dragon Ball, and Earth Ball 1 is your opponent will misplay in the next action. Those are the parentheticals.
So true. I don't understand. So many times I'm playing like Radiant Future Gohan or Mischievous Kami, and I'll like Confro. I'm like, oh my gosh, my opponent just has the game. What do I do? And I'll get rid of their best card, but they're still going to destroy me. And then they will proceed to systematically hand me every opportunity I need
to
win the
counterplay.
game. I'm like, wow, you had this game if you just played normally. I don't understand why you're letting me win, but here we go. I'll take it. We take those.
Yeah. Well, we've definitely wrapped up this question, but all right, Shane, we're gonna do a little change of pace. We'll let Shane go first, finally.
Thank you.
Okay, so what do you think that you could work on in your deck building, Shane?
I don't know. I'm pretty amazing.
Yeah.
All
right, done deal here.
Yeah, so you just ask.
All right.
All right, guys. Thanks for the stream.
Daddies. I think really I look at other people's decks and I see other people winning, and when I ask myself, okay, what's their deck doing that my decks aren't doing if I'm not winning? There's a line that you have to ride when you build any deck. With how many cards do you commit to executing your strategy, and how many cards do you execute to stopping your opponent's strategy? That line is something I feel like I could be a lot better about doing. I love to run tech so much. And while that definitely wins me tons and tons of games, the fact that I just have insane control of the game state, I can also lose games because I'll just draw, awkward hands. And that's something I see other players. That's something that I can look at other players and I feel like there are certain other people who have built decks that execute that much better than I do. When I look at some winning lists, I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm not trying to not shout anybody out.
No, it's all good.
I just can't put my finger on it. But that's what I want to work on, is focusing my decks and really getting down to the core of what makes them good and not getting bogged down on trying to out my opponent, I guess.
Yeah. No, I used to feel like I chronically over-teched a lot of my decks too, and because I love tech, I love being able to just be like, oh, you have your deck strategy. Oh, well, here's my one card that just completely shits on you. But then it's like, hey, look, this card's really good now. But then I draw X super crazy physical block, and then it's dead against 18. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so and especially with how wide open the meta is, I feel like in these last like 2 sets, especially this set, just in terms of what people want to play, it's just like teching is just becoming less and less like a good thing to do, I think, without like a super refined meta. It's definitely changed.
You're totally right.
Yeah, it's definitely a change that I had to make myself, and that was like a lot of the thought process in my last in the OLT when I ran Oppressive Goku. I just like went straight beats. I didn't even like run much tech, and paid off, you know. But you know, ultimately, I didn't have the tech for Supreme Kai, so I did lose because of not having well enough tech. But you know, generally speaking, it would have. It's finding that balance is definitely hard. It's definitely something I feel like I too am working on. So.
Supreme Kai is definitely one you have to tech for. He has like very specific counters that you have to run those if you want to have a good matchup against him. I mean, it's possible to beat him without the tech, but like if you want to have a consistent matchup with him where you've got a fighting chance, I feel like you have to make the conscious decision to run the board control and the discard hate.
Yeah. For sure.
I don't play any decks that don't at least have a chance against Supreme Kai. That's one of those MPs.
Yeah, right now. Yep.
There's no point in playing. If your deck can't beat Supreme Kai, just throw it in the trash because you shouldn't be playing it.
I think you can top with something that can't beat Supreme Kai. Will you win? No.
Yep.
That's how I feel, so.
Yeah, Fogler's going to sit down across from you in finals, and you're just going to get destroyed.
See, that's when I just whip out my secret weapon, and I just, like, bring alcohol, and I just try to, like, drink him. I'll drink him while we're playing. And ideally,
oh my gosh.
Ideally, we do some of that drunken kung fu, and it just works.
Yes.
It's funny. It's so.
Brian wasn't even misplaying when he was drunk.
Oh man, it's so funny that you mentioned that because I literally watched the movie. I've watched the Drunken Master. I watched it on Netflix like the other week.
The Jackie Chan, the original.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That's classic.
I know there's the second one. I haven't watched the second one, but
I feel like the highest level of DBZ play is like it's literally drunken kung fu because you can be skillful, but at the end of the day, you're still just like drawing 3 cards and hoping and praying.
You just get the right amount of sauce in each hand, and it's just so smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this game is like 70% luck minimum. I feel
20% skill.
Yeah,
15% concentrated power of will.
10% how handsome your opponent is.
Well, Shane. Shit. Oh man.
I can't tell if that's a compliment or an insult.
I was in between also on that.
To be fair, I think we have a pretty good looking crew here. I mean, I'm on like my scrubbier side right now, but I
was actually thinking, I was like, oh boy, I'm going to be in a video call with the 2 handsomest Dragon Ball Z players I know. So excited.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm everyone. It's my friends always joke that I'm the one that everyone's gay for, so.
I mean, that could be your next series, to be honest. Like, most handsome Dragon Ball Z players.
Yeah.
First one is Tommy Sheeble and Mike Teagues. There you go.
I love Mike. Thank you so much. I love Mike. I
definitely puts the daddy in Deck Daddies.
That's
Oh, that's awesome. Because I want to get a vid. I'm going to try to get another episode here. I think the next one is going to be Mike and Nick Rodriguez, 2 guys I know locally. Nick,
another handsome DBZ player.
Nick, of course, being Where's My North Kai, that guy. And
North Kai Vids.
North Kai Vids and fucking the King of the North. It'll be fun. I'm trying to get those 2. I'm going to do that sometime this week, but yeah. We have some really good people in this community. I think we...
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
one thing that's nice is like we all kind of know each other at this point. I really like that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool when it's cool like meeting up with people even just at like the hotels and stuff
Yeah, for sure.
and
That was so much fun at East Kai last year, as everyone just crammed into the hotel room after the event.
Except I just fall asleep every time. I'm always the first one in bed.
Oh, dude.
After a day of playing Dragon Ball Z, I'm just like, nope, done. I don't want to play. I don't want to play. I don't want to talk. I just want to go to bed.
See, I just like get that burnt out feeling, and then I just still want to like keep playing, and so I just keep playing, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
And then I just play like a scrub at that point. But
Yep, Joey DiCarlo smashed me in a. This sounds horrible, actually. Now that the way I've worded this, Joey DiCarlo absolutely just destroyed me after South Guy in the hotel room. It was disgusting.
Yeah, Joey DiCarlo took me out to the hotel room.
He smashed me, bro.
all right, definitely going to the police on this one. So,
He dropped "I'll Dig Your Grave" and just rammed into me.
Well, he was
Yeah.
playing Ruthless Majin Vegeta.
oh,
so.
he was pretty ruthless, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, well. All right. Well, we're gonna move on to the final question here, and this is just a nice way to round out. But
Wait. You didn't ask me.
Yeah, you
I
didn't ask Anthony
Oh
what he could
shit!
work
I
on.
didn't ask you. Okay, Anthony, what do you think you could work on?
Unsub.
Building. Unsubscrew.
I've got the thing up here to my side, and I've been preparing. That's the only reason I know.
Oh. Okay.
The only
Oh, what a nerd.
what I really I don't want to sound like a dummy. I mean, I'm already like 2 beers in. I don't want
Nice.
to. So what I think I could work on my deck building is I think that I get a little attached to the cards that I like rather than the cards that I think are like really good. You might have that one block that like, man, Red Escape, I just want to level up. Screw this, I'm not running Red Brace, I'm going to run Red Escape. And you might get attached to that, but sometimes you kind of have to concede and, all right, Red Brace is actually the better card for this deck. So I think that's where I'm at with where I think I could get better is I could concede on the cards that I like versus what's actually good for the deck.
Yeah. Hey man, I ran a 1 of Goku's Kamehameha in Oppressive Drill Coup, so there you go. Didn't use it once. I didn't even think I threw it in a single game in the whole OLT. I think I played like what 7 or 8 matches there. I didn't use it 7 matches. I didn't play it once.
Mm-hmm.
So
Tim Bateau ran the one Goku's Kamehameha in his second place adaptive drill coup deck back in set 3.
yeah.
And in his video, which I've seen a million times because it's like my favorite deck ever.
Oh, I love it.
He,
It's such a fun deck.
Yeah, he was talking about it. He was like, I ran the one Kamehameha just like, just for the heck of it. And then Waffles, who was doing the video, was like, did you ever play it? And he was like, oh yeah, I played it twice. Once because I knew it hit. And the other time I was like, if this hits, I can win. I've got to hit this. And it worked out. So, good card.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like, you have aggressive sword drill. You can tutor Goku 4. It's unpreventable. So you just drop like 10 drills with it. Unpreventable for 6 and adaptive. Plus, that if you kill let's say realistically you kill like 7 drills with it, which is really easy to do with drill coup. You kill 7 drills, times 3, 21 stages of damage, 6 life cards unpreventable. So at worst, you're going to be
17.
It's 17 unpreventable. So and that's a quarter of the deck. So.
Well, at worst, your opponent plays Red Escape on it, and they go up a level and they kill you.
Yeah.
It was better when we had VTP, so you could like VTP for it out of your discard pile when you needed it.
Or add insult. Yeah, VT. It's definitely one of those cards that suffered without VTP being in a round. So.
I missed
But
the
not
one
Supreme
of
Kai.
No. Oh man, it was Supreme Kai. Yeah, I miss VTP in the sense that it made mid-range good, but I hated that card too because it was just a tempo stealer and it was just such a roadblock. I'm so glad it's gone. Like Times Warriors tool needs to be a thing. Namek 7 does not need to be a thing.
No, it is not.
God. Who
I
was
wish
asking?
they would nerf it to like.
Was it you or who was it that said if it was only styled cards would you still play it? Would it still be good? And everyone's like, yeah.
No, I would never say something so stupid. That was like one of the whoever posted that. I was like, what are you?
Oh, it's Jacob Gluck.
Yeah, I love Jacob.
See, you said
but that was a really
stupid,
silly
and I'm like,
thing.
oh, Jacob Gluck.
I love Jacob so much.
Man.
He's one of my favorite people, but also that was an incredibly silly question.
He's just been forever a retro troll. That's I have a hard time taking him seriously, even
Yeah,
when he's
I
trying to be
swear.
serious, because he just trolls so much and he just says the
Yeah.
dumbest stuff. Sorry, I shouldn't
He
rip
sits
on
at
the
a
dude.
keyboard and
He's
he's
not
like,
here.
what's the stupidest thing I can say?
He's like not here to defend himself, so I shouldn't rip on him too hard. But
Yeah.
I love you, Jacob. We haven't had a conversation yet, but
I love you, little
it
Jake.
will happen soon.
I mean, it's funny that he posted that question because the only he sacked me really hard when I played him in Frederick's Face Off. He got to level 4 first turn. He had 2 saying peace out by the 3rd turn, and I was Knowledge Piccolo.
Man.
My list was bad, but like, he still sacked me.
That's a sack.
The only reason I was in that game was because I ball 7'd him like 5 times. He asked for a deck count, and I was like, oh, he's probably destroying me. And I was up 12 cards because I ball 7'd him so many times.
Oh, dude, I hate.
He AK'd me 3 times in 2 turns as well, and I was still
aye.
up that many because of ball 7. Ball 7's his third.
That card is very loose.
I'm pretty sure right before we started this, I won a game against Shane just because, and it was simple. It was simple only because I played ball 7. I think I top deck Unleash, hybrid defense, and chest explosion. It's like value.
That didn't win you the game, but it definitely. Ball 7 is the card that your opponent plays, and you're like, I should just shoot myself.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
Continuation.
Oh man, when they get ball 7 and VTP, oh my god, that was the worst. You get both.
Or back in the day, when
man.
you'd be playing against Black Krillin, and you'd be like, oh, thank God, I'm winning. I'm gonna close this out, and he just ball 7s for time, disc and disc. And you couldn't afford an ultra rare sphere, so you had no answer.
You're a poor boy. You're a poor boy. Red Tandem Blast didn't yet exist, and you're just like, I want to die. Or you're playing red in set 3, 4, 5, and you have no endurance. That was always fun.
I can't feel bad for any red deck back then after set 3, because after set 3, red and rage took off, and rage mastery.
I mean, yeah. The biggest thing is, people talk about Rage Garlic. That deck. Very predictable, and you had to draw a lot of board, and you had to build up a lot for that deck to not just blow up in your face.
It was so good in that meta, though.
It was the level 3 was good. You get to 4 though, and you take 1 bad combat and you lose. Even a mediocre combat, that +3 life card modifier on a couple of attacks, you're done.
Yeah,
but you just wouldn't though. Back in that meta, very few decks could punish you that hard for being on level 4. Black Krillin sometimes, but
yes and no. I mean, if you let's say it's just this matter of you had to tempo control so much because you needed to make sure you went to 4 in a combat where you could seal it quick.
Yeah,
and that you had the blocks. So biggest problem is I would fly. I'd either get stuck on 2 and I'd fly off 3 right away, or it was pretty much I'd either fly to 3 right away, and then I'd have to be like, oh shit, I got to slow myself down, or it's I'd get stuck on 2 because people draw anger hate. Or ball 2'd me from 3 down to 2, so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I liked Garlic. He was fun, but.
The problem with Garlic is, he was great in set 3 and 4, and then they made Roshi, and there was no reason to play Garlic ever again. Yeah. And then they made Cooler, and it's now there's double reason never to play Garlic.
Oh, man, dude.
Enraged Cooler just.
That was a great deck.
Yeah, Enraged Garlic could beat Enraged Cooler, but every other deck, Enraged Cooler would just slap it silly, and Garlic had nothing.
What crazy! I had some really crazy good deck, and I forgot what it did. I think it was a protective deck or something, and I still Enraged Cooler was still with MPPV on that deck. That's so good, or just out survive. That deck was just so good. It was hard to kill it. I think I even played against it with Empowered Future Gohan at some point, and
that Cooler bias.
Oh, dude,
Cooler's so sick.
Cooler's so good. I like Cooler a lot. I just don't
Red Sacrifice was broken in that deck because Cooler could discard Sacrifice for 2 anger, and Enrage Mastery would discard Sacrifice for 2 anger. So you could just slap in 3 Red Sacrifice with no risk, and you'd shoot up levels. It's crazy.
Yeah, that was great. That was the best combo, I think. It was the level 1. Same with level 1 in Black with Corruption. I like those little combos, but.
Yeah, I wish I was big brain enough to have come up with Enraged Cooler back in set 6, because I would have just played that forever. I didn't come up with it, and when I saw other people playing it, I was like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Of course.
Red Bribe was a dirty card. Still is.
It did that thing that I was talking about that I like to do. You don't want to pass against Enraged Cooler because he'll vomit board. But then you enter on him, and he like red escapes up a level, and then Novas you and static
Yeah.
shots
Well,
you.
like,
And you're like
red blocking, or
ah.
you enter on him and he's like, oh, red blocking hand, attack, and I level. Oh, I'm on level 2, you hit me, I get an anger. You hit me again,
Yup.
I anger. Oh, and now I did. And it's had 2 anger attack, and I leveled again. You're just like, what the fuck?
And Nova
Yep.
was a 3 anger card because if it hit, because it was going to do critical damage.
Yep, Nova.
And he's still winning by life cards because he got to 4 at one point.
Yeah,
You rejuvenate. You go 2 to 3 in a combat. You +5 your deck, and you're trading
Yeah.
11. So you're
No, you +6 your deck because of the parenthetical.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. You +6 your deck. So there's a 15 card life card swing there.
He puts a red destiny that he's already
More
used
than
back
that.
into his deck. Like, oh, I loved Enraged Cooler, but
We are partial
again.
to Cooler in all instances.
Yeah.
make him
I
in
see
Cooler
that.
level 1, please God.
He's just
I
he's
knew
just
Cooler
a
level 1.
he's just an MP I have not really touched a whole lot here and there for a long time. I loved him in there in Pansy, and I didn't really touch him a whole lot into Fancy, but
I didn't play him in Pansy at all, but when I saw Cooler Supernova, I was just talking about this with Anthony earlier. I saw Nova and I was like, that's it. That's the best card I've ever seen.
it's pretty good.
I love Cooler.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the final. We'll move on to the final question because we've been talking about Cooler and other stuff. So of course this is probably hopefully the most fun one for you guys to kind of think on and give you some memories. But Shane, we'll have you go first for this one. What was a deck building win and a deck building fail? So what was the time that something came together really well that you built, and then what was the time that something that you built kind of just like completely fell apart?
Well, I mean, the 2 best deck building wins that I've ever had were definitely Retribution Cooler Triple Victory and Radiant Future Gohan. I guess I'll start with Radiant Future Gohan because that's like the more unique one to me. But I built it and I was just trying to smash people, and then Dragon Ball Victory was kind of a thing in the back of my mind. And I won like 10 games in a row, and 4 of them were like turn 4 DBV. I just couldn't believe how fast that deck could DBV. I was popping Kami with ball 4 to search more balls. I would use Namekian team up to shuffle Kami away and search a ball and cap a ball. All this garbage. I couldn't be choked because I had the -1 on my level 1 and 2 and 3. I was like, wow, this deck is insane. And through like the year that I played that deck, before I took it to a tournament, no one ever really seemed quite ready to handle it. There were all these random strategies that could beat it very easily, like Oppressive Cell, played by Kevin Dennis. He would just get to level 4, search Saiyan Tantrum when entering combat every turn, and crit me. And that deck really does lose to use a critical damage effect. That just beats the deck.
Yeah, critical damage effects definitely hurt that deck.
Yeah.
If you crit the right Dragon Ball.
Yeah, really. The Earth Balls are so bad, but the deck was so much fun. I did so much damage. I balled out so fast. So that was a win. And then Retribution Cooler was just insanely good. I built it because I saw Enraged Cooler and I saw Ascension Cooler played by Alex Sabat. And I was like, well, I suck at red. What if I just play orange? And then that was it. It won all the time, and it was so stupidly strong. Everything about that deck just came together. I won a lot by Dragon Ball Victory. I won a lot by MPPV. I won a lot by Survival. You would just get to level 3, search Aura Drill, and be unbeatable because you're swinging 11 cards every turn. Physical decks couldn't beat you. You had Burning Aura Drill, Orange Defense, Namek Ball 6. Energy decks struggled to beat you. Against blue decks, I won so many games just by searching Hiding Drill and passing until I balled out because they couldn't capture a ball after Hiding Drill hit the field.
Oh, man.
And they couldn't use Stylish Pose because you would just rejuvenate a Nova to pop it when entering combat. So Pose couldn't crit, Choke couldn't crit, and you would just win. So those 2 decks were like by far the best wins because they both rewarded me in dividends beyond my wildest dreams. And then a deck building fail would be, that's kind of a trickier one. Honestly, there's a lot of bad decks that I built. It's hard to pick.
Well, what was something in recent memory that was a big let? Or what's something that you'd say would be the biggest letdown?
No, I got it. Definitely the most disappointing one, because I wanted it to be good so badly, was Saiyan Denial Rampaging Vegeta.
Oh man, I know people have tried that one.
I love, in theory, I in my mind I could just see myself pitching a Saiyan dive for 1,000,000,000 life.
14
and I was
life
like,
or
oh, it's gonna be so good. This is it. And it did not ever once work out. I think I won one game eventually, but
see, now I got to make that.
man, it was bad.
I've thought
That's
about
terrible.
that. I thought about it, and I'm just like, what does it do other than I'm like, ideally, it's like you could run it like oppressive, but then like, I'm like, why don't I just run it as oppressive?
Yeah, oppressive is probably just way better. And then also, I think if I'm going to talk about deck building fails, Protective Garlic, because Anthony and I both built that deck.
Dude, that was I remember people building that deck in set 3. That's so bad.
It's amazing is if your opponent is an idiot. If your opponent keeps attacking you, you like can't lose. As long as your opponent's attacking you, you're gonna like win. But as soon
If
as
they do nothing else for an action, if all they do is just attack you all 4 times, and you can copy every attack. Ooh.
Yeah, you just win. But then as soon as they're smart and they figure that out and they stop attacking, you just lose. And then Red Cooler, ever since Tactical Drill's been frozen, has been my other deck building fail. Every time I build Red Cooler, I just want to not. I build that deck.
Attitude Drill's back. You could always try with Attitude Drill.
Yeah, but the problem I keep running into is I run all the broken red setups, and Cooler's level 1 turns them off.
Yeah, Cooler 1 is the worst level 1 I think I've ever. I hate that level 1 so much.
It's the worst level 1 that's on a good MP.
Yeah, pretty much. The thing that I think, if Cooler had a good level 1, he would be like immediate tier 1. Honestly, like he's like undeniable tier 1 almost.
He's still tier 1, I think, but
I think
so
to me
limited.
ultimately tier 1 is like Supreme Kai, and then everyone else after Supreme Kai is.
Well, yeah, you can make the argument that tier 1 is exclusively like Supreme Kai and Majin Vegeta right now.
I wouldn't even throw Majin Vegeta there. I would say Supreme Kai. Vegeta's only relevant because Supreme Kai exists.
Majin Vegeta is pretty insane. He's
good, but like in a pure beats, like Broly gets board clear faster because of the level 2. Broly has better stage pressure, and their AT is similar between those two.
Vegeta falls off a lot.
I agree with all your points, but I just keep finding myself playing Majin Vegeta and being really surprised at how he's good. I mean, like you're right. Every time I play him and Broly, I'm like, oh well, Broly should be better on paper. But Vegeta just works. I can't identify what it is about him that ties everything together.
He's also not a big victim to Black Delay and D-Burst potentially, which is nice.
Because that level 2 is being an energy attack is crazy.
Yeah, level 2, level 3 drying, level 4 being an energy. Like you get off 1, Black Delay doesn't hurt you. D-Burst isn't the worst thing in the world.
So Alex Stewart hit me with a like 8 or 9 stage Majin Vegeta level 2 and Resourceful. And it was kind of like, you know that meme of the guy where he just like blinks slowly and is like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of how I felt. I was like, I just took a 9-stage energy to the face. I'm not going to win this game.
Yeah.
It's over.
No, I just don't throw Vegeta on the same level. I think he's tech beats and he works in his own way. And I've rationalized like Supreme Kai and Draku are similar. Their power is what cards you have. The difference is Supreme Kai can more reliably see certain cards than Goku.
Supreme Kai, his level 1 when entering power is the best when entering power in the game by such a ridiculously wide margin. He's so
on a level 1.
Yeah, he's such a free, incredibly powerful MP.
Yeah.
But I do maintain that Majin Vegeta is a tier 1 MP, and like by a huge margin. Final Flash is a tool that like every other physical any beatdown MP wishes they could have.
Yeah, that's good.
His constant locking you guys into combat on level 2 is ridiculous. His level 3 is insane. That level 4 is just like a do you have an energy block? Yes, you're still in the game. No, you lose.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
No, he's definitely good, for sure. I don't know. That's just how I see my tier list, but I definitely understand. There's a lot of MPs I think that are really good that can win. So
The first thing I do when I build a deck, like a deck that I'm actually excited for, is I load up a self game on Octagon, and I put Mischievous Supreme Kai on the other side.
nice.
If I win, I load up Ruthless Mach Vegeta. If I win, I'm like, okay, I can keep playing this deck.
I used to do that with knowledge. I used to do that with Knowledge Piccolo for like the first 6 sets of the game. Totally.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Knowledge Piccolo. That's a deck I like too. It's triple victory.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's not as good as Retribution Cooler by any means. It's such a passive, reactive deck that I hate playing that way.
Yeah.
But it's good, so I play it.
So Anthony, what was a deck building win for you and a deck building fail?
My deck building win, I'm definitely gonna defer to my Knowledge Cell build. I'm really proud of that. I think it's super cool. I tested it against what I perceive the meta to be against Physical Beats and Supreme Kai, and it just it executed. I mean, I just really like the way that deck performed in Gastonia. It's definitely a win, and all I really did was take a triple threat deck and make it one victory condition. I mean, it does run balls. It doesn't run anything that banishes balls like what's the Namekian card that advances your
Leaping Kick.
Leaping Kick. It doesn't run anything like that. You technically could win by Dragon Ball Victory, but once you hit level 3 in this deck, you instantly you put your opponent on a 3-turn timer, depending on if you see Chest Explosion. I mean, they have to answer these massive attacks that you're going to throw, and you're going to get, because Cell Smooth it swings 20 cards a turn. It's like ridiculous. The only other huge deck building victory I think I have is with one of Shane's decks, actually, Radiant Future Gohan. I took his deck list and he fought me on adding the third backlash in a Supreme Kai meta.
Not really, though. I think you're confusing me with Kevin, because I didn't tell him to add it, but then he told me. He was like, I added the third backlash, and I was like, I don't know. And he was like, Supreme Kai. And I was like, oh yeah. Right. You just win. Every time you backlash Supreme Kai, you just...
And the tournament that I played that deck, I backlashed Kabito out of play 2 times, and they never saw him again. So it worked out.
Yeah, and then we were talking to Kevin, and Kevin was running some gimmicky tech card, and he's like, it's for the Majin Vegeta matchup, and we're like, just backlash. Just backlash and get all your stages back.
Yeah.
So, I have to say, Anthony.
I love Anthony.
I do love Anthony.
There you go.
No homo, but some homo. But I love watching Anthony play people with his Knowledge Cell build. It put a smile on my heart every time. When I talked to him after every round in Gastonia, I was like, "How was your round?" He was like, "Crushed him." Just every round. And he was like, yeah, I destroyed him. Just every single game.
Nice.
I was like, oh yeah, and he was like, yeah, I just got to 3, or I just milled him 1 billion, and I threw 1 billion life Chest Explosion. Yeah, I just destroyed him. Yeah, I destroyed him. Every round, it was so funny.
Nice.
I love it.
And then Shane smashed me, and
then I played Anthony and killed him in 2 combats.
Oh man, yeah, I read the report, and it's like, yeah, he just fucking unloaded on me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I Dan drilled him. I counted all his energy blocks were still in his deck, and I was like, that's it.
Oh man.
When I drew, I kind of knew it was game. I was like, oh, he's got toss disc in his hand. I'm fucked. It's over.
He had this face on him, and it's the Anthony face of this is rough. Yeah, I could see it. I was like, he might have 1 energy block, but he probably doesn't have anything else. And then I checked his deck, and I was like, oh, he's got no energy blocks. Yeah, it's GG. I've got 80 life in my hand.
Damn, man. That's rough.
So
he multiplies that number every time we tell the story.
Wow.
No,
hey, man,
it's not a toss PowerPoint fierce attack.
It's got every story needs a little embellishing.
The one that I always multiply is the time I got DQ'd against Wayne, because I had 5 Dragon Balls on the board, and I was going to ball out next turn, but I also had I had game in my hand. I had so many blocks, or not so many blocks, so many attacks. I was going to destroy Wayne because he forgot about my -1 and he entered to choke me. So he chokes me and it doesn't do anything because it only does 4 life. And so he was going to get wrecked, but then I got DQ'd. So every time I tell that story, originally I had like 60 some life in my hand, but every time I tell the story, I'm like, oh yeah, I had 80 life. Oh, I had 90 life.
Nice.
Yeah, I had 130 cards of damage in my hand.
Oh,
He was destroyed.
I had, yeah. Wow. Okay. All right, Anthony. What about a fail? What was the time the deck just really kind of didn't work out for you?
Any blue Resolute deck I built at the beginning of every set that comes out since Mischievous printing.
That is so funny because other people, Jeff said like the same thing about I think Resourceful and Resolute. Just cannot get those to work.
Yeah, Resourceful, I can agree with them on that. Yeah, I definitely. I had Resourceful go 10, and if you just run into blocks or you don't see Unleashed or Dig, it's ouch.
Yeah, yep, that's sort of, yep.
What about your Resolute Draw Coup? That worked out pretty well. I would say.
Are you being facetious right now?
No. I won a lot of games.
It does a lot. It did win a lot of games, but I mean, it's just Unleashed Kaioken Draw Coup shenanigans, you know. Like
you focus on the ones you lose because they feel so bad.
I don't feel good about just like slapping cards down. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to pick up 4 cards at the beginning of combat and be like, all right, Unleashed Kaioken, I'm gonna draw a card. Yeah. GG, bro, I'm out.
GG, bro. You know, that's totally. I'm totally the same way. Like that was a big part of why I stayed away from Draku for almost the entirety of the game that he's been out. And then I just finally played him. I felt like a scumlord for playing him. So.
Mischievous Cooler right now has been like a deck that I've been really proud of. I don't want to say it's like a deck building win because I haven't like performed with it in a tournament yet, but I think that it's one of those decks that when you sit down, whatever your opponent reveals, you can look at it, you can kind of analyze and visualize what the game state's going to be like, and you can kind of figure out there's a way I can win this. You know, if I see a scout. You know, if I draw, you know, an energy block at the right time, I can definitely win this. I like decks like that where you can, no matter what you go against, you feel a little safety. You know, knowing that like, okay, you know, even if I take 30 cards in the beginning, I might unleash the 4 and rejuvenate 8 cards and then use my level 3 to rejuvenate 3 more. You know what I mean? Like
or like no matter how bad the matchup is, you can always just Mischievous your way to victory.
Exactly. Like you're gonna hit Unleashed every time.
RNGesus, yeah.
Yeah.
I've had some I have some really stupid luck with that mastery. I'm gonna tell you. I hate that I play that mastery, but it is so hard. It was so hard for the longest time to not play that mastery, like all of set 11. Oh man.
I used to be such a quintessential blue player, but I find myself playing the Namekian in black so much more now, just because. Yeah. My favorite is Resolute Mastery, and I love Lifeguard Beats. Resolute's great for that, but I think the card draw just really kills it. And Knowledge, Radiant, they're really fun for, you know, throwing the energy attacks and doing life cards of damage. Black Mischievous kind of has that, like, you can hit that mid-range feel with it, where, like, you're, like, searching their deck for cards you don't want to see, and then also, like, hitting them with big attacks with Cooler. So there's a lot of fun with that, I think. So somehow I turned deck building fail to deck building win again.
You're just that
good. Your boy's just dropping some hot beats. But
there was a guy that said something. Anthony and I have like talked about this so many times, but I was like talking about. I can't remember what I was saying, but a guy said like, well, "Why don't you just try it? What's the worst that happens? You lose a game?" And I was like, "Yes."
Yeah, low key, I'm kind of the same way sometimes.
Like,
man.
Like I'm like, I'd rather have a fun game that I lose than just sack somebody and win. But no, I'd rather just.
No, I'd rather just win. I don't know. Like when I feel like there's skill involved, I'm fine. But when I get fucking draw, like when I just like lose games because I draw like ass.
Yep.
If I misplay, I misplayed. I don't even feel bad if I misplayed. I feel like, I need to improve. But then when I just, like, draw bad, I'm like, okay, I don't even feel good about this. I'm actually just, like, pissed off, and I just want to play it. It's like, there's times where, like, you'll lose a game, and you're like, okay, let's play another one. You just like you're like I gotta win this, I gotta show that I can fucking beat this guy, and I hate getting like that, but I think a lot of us get like that.
I definitely used to I would load whatever random deck I was trying to build on Octagon, and someone would just sack and destroy me, and I'd be like, "You want to do one more?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, sure, one more." And I would just load Retribution Cooler, and I'd be like, "All right, I'm gonna frickin' put you in the ground."
Yeah, man.
That's why I'm good at this game.
Man. Shane and I, we're pretty good friends, and for the most part, we're pretty nice to each other. But after one of us tries a new deck, or
I definitely told Anthony that I wouldn't be satisfied.
Everyone, I feel like no matter what, I think everyone gets salty at their friends playing this game every once in a while. So
it's that aspect of it it's that drunken kung fu. Like you can define your deck, and you can count how many planning your cards to a science, and the percentage that you're going to draw those cards. But there's still always the chance that you're going to pick up 3 fucking planning cards, and Shane's just going to MPPV in one turn because he's level 2 Piccolo and he's got all 3 board cards he needs, and you're just like, I got Legendary Black, I can lower your anger too, bro.
Oh man.
Or it's funny, I feel like the higher level you go with this game, the more luck factors into it. Because you're both playing really well, you're both going to make the right choices. So it just comes down to who draws what. And that can be really frustrating. It can really feel frustrating when you and your friends play a few games in a row. And this kind of happened with Anthony and I earlier. I won a game just because I was Knowledge Piccolo, and on my turn I drew Purunga, Dragon Clan, and Namekian Disturbance, and then passed. What's Anthony supposed to do? I've got 2 balls and a constant source of anger on the field. That's not to belittle Anthony or anything. It's I didn't feel like I earned that win. Oh, cool, I can search 1 million Dragon Balls. Oh, of course I'll win this game. But I don't know. It's not very satisfying when that kind of stuff happens, I feel. But I still like it. I'll take it.
Yeah, I feel that. Well, guys, we did answer all the questions. This has definitely been a definitely good, fun conversation that we've had. I really appreciate you guys for taking your time out of your evenings here to hang out.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Frank, and all the lovely things you do.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. So hopefully I will be probably breaking my weekly videos of gameplay up with one of these probably on a Wednesday or Friday or something, or maybe in the Monday. Depends on when I want to put these up. But I hope everyone who does end up watching these enjoys them. And like I said, thanks Anthony and Shane again for coming and hanging out. It's good to talk about this stuff and have some good conversations. And hopefully this gives everyone something to kind of tie into, And I'd like to just keep kind of showing off some of the good players, some of the well-known players from each kind of region. Give an idea of, how are we all different? And maybe I'll try to do some with Tommy where we break down, Tommy Andre. I'll have to see if I can get some breakdown of what people are playing in each region or something. Would be kind of fun, but.
What region is Tommy? What does Tommy Andre represent?
He's Midwest. Yeah, he's from St. Louis.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I thought he lived. Okay, yeah.
I'll be right back.
I think that would be interesting. I think the South is aggro land, and the East Coast is
Controlville.
Hard control. Yeah, East Coast is just the land of scumbags. Everyone just wants to
control mid-range. Midwest is kind of aggro mid-range. And then I'd say the West Coast is just kind of I'm not really sure the West Coast is. I do look at their list from time to time, and I see all sorts of stuff. I feel like they're pretty mid-range.
I feel like the East Coast, whether or not, I don't want to I don't want to call anyone out. Even though I feel the East Coast is the best region, but I feel like the East Coast is the region that's constantly trying to find the scummiest ways to win.
As far as vocal in terms of I think definitely explorative. I think if you go on Octagon at any point, a lot of the players on there are the East Coast guys. There's a good number of us Midwest guys too, and other people, but a lot of the guys that I know on there are the East Coasters, and they're the ones I think that are really pushing the envelope with a lot of these fan Z sets, which I appreciate. And we've seen that in the case of a Kami combative or people. I don't know, like the black control stuff or whatever, from Kelly. There's definitely a lot of creative push from the East Coast, and I do think there are a lot of skilled. After going to the East Coast and playing a lot of those people, playing against like Kevin Curtis, playing against Brian Fogler, playing against Diddy, playing against Kevin Dennis, Kelly Dennis, Charlie and Victor Studio. So I think I used to play Victor all the time on Octagon actually in the early sets, but a lot of good players from the East Coast for sure. Definitely would agree.
They definitely forced me to evolve. Coming from Frederick never really had a huge play group, so I mean there wasn't really a lot of meta play, and I didn't even know what Octagon was until Kevin Dennis messaged me after the first Dennis games. What is this Octagon thing?
For sure.
I remember the first Frederick's face-off was just like, it was like people driving down from New Jersey and then me driving up from North Carolina, and we just smashed all the Maryland people, and then that was it. But then the second one was like way harder.
Alrighty, well I'm gonna cut the video off. I will cut the video off here since we're gonna probably go off on forever. But like I said, anyone who's watched this, I really appreciate it, and hopefully keep getting some guests on here, try to get some more stars of the community out. But anyway, like I said, I appreciate you both. Take it easy in peace.